replay would. So hi, welcome to New Year, new relationship. We're at the start of 2024. Can't believe it already. And I really wanted to kick off this year just doing a workshop for you. Anybody wanted to join who felt like, you know what, this year's got to be different for love. This year, things have got to change. And where you may have had tried to be in relationships before, been in them, they haven't worked out, etc., but not actually knowing what it is that's probably got in your way. There might be some, you might have an inkling of some stuff. You might just be like, I'm clueless. I've been going on lots of dates, or I've had one successful relationship after the other, or unsuccessful rather, and I just don't know what's going on, like what's kind of getting in the way. So I wanted to obviously do this so that I could help you to identify what your potential barriers to a relationship might be. And there are 3 key areas, and I'm going to share those with you in a little bit. And normally I kind of try and focus a little bit on sort of specific things and workshops, but because we're at the start of the year, I thought it'd be really good to kind of just get that sort of clarity on about a range of potential things. Okay. So at least you're clued up right at the start about what might be some of the issues or challenges. And then I'll obviously share with you what it is that you can do to kind of help yourself in those situations. So we're going to be going for about an hour. I actually booked in a session with somebody at 9:15 and I totally didn't register. They're actually in California where you are, Sophia. So it's their morning now. I think it's your morning. I'm just forgetting the times. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, which I think is most of you, I do actually know Sophia. I'm just going to tell you who I am, a little bit about me, and I will dive into a bit more of my story later. We will also have a Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go through everything because I just really kind of want to share all the information. It's a bit, so definitely get pen and paper to write down any notes. Obviously, because I'm recording it, I will send out the replay as well. So if you want to go back over anything, you can like sort of take your time as well. And I definitely want to give you the space to ask your questions later. But first of all, hi everybody. My name is Top Hair. And I always say it's pronounced like top and air, even though when you see it, it doesn't sound like, it doesn't look how you would say it. So I always want to make sure people are clear, it's Top Hair. And I'm a relationship dating and self-love coach. And I have been doing this for a good few years now. I think I started coaching probably in 2015. So, but kind of really like evolved into the relationship dating self-love sphere because of my own dating life, my own transformation that occurred as a result of me going through some stuff I'm going to share with you today. But also because I grew up really being into love and romance and relationships and hearts. I still like wear all my hearts, everything hearts. Surprised I haven't got my rings on. I've got hearts behind me, you can't see it because it's a bit blurred. And I just thought, why did I just not? This was such a natural thing for me to kind of like really get into. And because I really am so deeply into romance. Sorry, bear with me 1 second because somebody is just trying to join the Facebook group, so I think that she can watch it from there, which actually I should have said that to everybody else who was trying to join. That would have made a lot of sense. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't like interrupting myself, but I'm gonna actually just quickly do that, but which means I might keep getting distracted having to keep letting people in. Right, 2 secs. I'm just gonna send that to this lady here, or join my FB group as I'm streaming it there. Streaming it there. Okay, there you go. Okay, so at least you can watch then. Yay! Which means I may have to check my Facebook as well in case anybody's got any questions while I'm in there. So I don't know why I didn't think about that. Okay, that's cool. Everybody, hello everybody in the Facebook group as well. Right, so back to what I'm all about. And so I'm going to share a little bit of a view about my story as well and how I went from I got divorced, gosh, nearly 20 years ago. Yeah, that's right, nearly 20 years ago. And then it took me about 17 years of dating like since then trying to find my person until I eventually found my person. So I've had a few unsuccessful relationships. So there was my marriage, which was about 6 years. There was another long-term relationship. There was a situationship, which in fact is probably the turning point for me. I've done lots of online dating, so I'm an expert. If anybody wants to online date, I can help you with that. I've done it on and off for over a decade, even before it was even popular, when it was like more taboo. Oh my God, you online date, that kind of thing. Sorry?
I need help with that because they're all after one thing, most of them.
Well, I
I
think that
do it.
sometimes,
I'm not into that.
yeah, I think that's sometimes the mindset, but I definitely can share with you that it's so super true that you can absolutely find somebody online. I've met a lot of lovely guys online, and then I've also met my partner now, who I've been with for nearly 3 years online. So I'm definitely going to tell you a little bit more about that. So thinking about why you're here, I know some of you already shared that you have been single for a long time and you obviously want to find a partner now. I know some people that are probably not on this call would be thinking about, they've probably gone through similar situations where they've gone through lots of unsuccessful relationships, marriage breakdowns, and they're wanting to find out, like, what is it that's been getting in my way of having relationship success. Some of you, and I'm speaking to everybody who's listening, might have experienced like some toxic behaviors in their relationships as well. Some gaslighting, love bombing, potentially verbal or physical abuse or controlling behavior. And then some of you may have been experiencing things that are not as extreme, but obviously means you still not have had success in relationships. So you might have got caught up in like situationships like myself, that on again, off again scenario, never quite knowing when you're going to end up together or not,
Sorry,
or
I'm
just
on the
casual
Zoom call.
things. Oh, sorry. Let me
Yeah,
just
bye bye.
I'm just going to mute everybody for now. Okay. Um, just to save us potentially accidentally saying stuff. Sorry. Back to what. So, yeah, or casual relationships, and maybe you've actually really wanted to be in committed relationships, but the person that you're seeing has maybe kept themselves a little bit apart or kept, stringing you along, and that's not been for you. Or you've just maybe gone on lots of dates and they've just not worked out. They've just not gone anywhere. They've been really unsuccessful. Or maybe you have dated people for a little while thinking that it's going well, and then he ends it, or you do. Maybe you been getting into relationships or have had lots of clashes with the people that you've been dating and wondering, why is this, these guys keep on moving away from me? Why do we keep on getting into conflict? Or maybe we're not having the right kind of relationships and stuff. Okay, Liana found her way in. So there are a number of reasons that I imagine that why you guys are here today, and what it is that you're hoping to like get out of this workshop. So I imagine as well you might be feeling a little bit drained, tired, fed up, and probably lonely. I know that's a massive thing, and I know also when you do feel lonely, that's actually sometimes one of the biggest challenges for not getting into the wrong thing, because you want to just find somebody, and that's where you could potentially get a little bit tripped up. So I'm always very keen to make sure that we're still making the right choices, even if we are feeling like that, because of course we want to have somebody by our side, right? I know we don't need guys, we don't need a partner, but we would really love to just have somebody to walk this life with, to share stuff with, to kind of come home to at the end of the day, and I'm sure that you would love to also have a guy that makes the effort, who makes you feel loved, someone who's like really good company that you can go on fun dates with and spend time with. And I'm sure that's probably what you would really love. And maybe right now you're in this space where you're thinking, is this going to happen for me? Am I worthy of love? I know sometimes we can really question ourselves when we don't get the relationships that we want, or when we keep getting rejected. And also it stops us from putting ourselves out there, because we are afraid that we're going to fail. We're afraid that somebody's going to like say no, or you know what I mean, and you pour yourself into them and you're vulnerable, and then they turn around and say, nah, this isn't for me. So it can be really scary, like, affairs of the heart. It's a very vulnerable scenario and situation. So I get it. So I'm sharing all of that, not to like bring all the gloom and the doom, but just so that I completely understand. I've been there as well, and like I said, it took me such a long time before I met my person. And it was after actually shifting things in the way that I was doing that actually took me from being involved with guys who were just wanted casual relationships that weren't on the same page as me. There was that on again, off again 5-year situationship. Um, or I wasn't even just being my authentic self. I wasn't being able to ask for what I wanted or needed. I was being a little bit maybe too needy as well because I was feeling quite insecure. And but I wasn't really getting my needs met, but I'd be bending over backwards to try and get people to stay. Those are the kind of things that I was definitely going through. And I also didn't feel valued, especially when things came to an end. I didn't really feel like some of the guys, they would just fight for me. I just didn't feel, and it just made me feel, it did make me feel worthless. I'm not going to lie. It made me feel like I just wasn't worth anything. And I started to wonder, am I actually ever going to find love? Am I meant to find love? Or am I only destined for all these like complicated relationships where I do all the work? But after going through these different things that I'm going to share today, my love life totally like transformed, right? Totally, to the point where I started attracting guys of better quality that were on the same page, that wanted the long term, that were actually able to see me for who I was and like value me. To my meeting my partner, as I said, I met him online and he's amazing. Like I always tell him that. I tell everybody, I was like, babe, I tell everybody about you. You're amazing. He's so lovely. And we've been together nearly 3 years, coming up this year before the summer. I'm able to be my most authentic self. Like I'm really silly. I'm very goofy. I'm daft. I'm quirky. You know, the one's doing all the dances, especially when she eats, which is weird, crazy things. I talk a lot, very cheesy, all the things. But he absolutely likes and loves me just the way that I am. And that's such a nice feeling to be fully accepted for myself. But it also it's a nice feeling for me to be able to show up fully as myself and not be afraid that he won't accept me, if that makes sense, which is what I was not doing before. And we're very similar. So weird. We're like really similar personalities, the same crazy sense of humor. We laugh at the same basic stuff. We'll just know, like, oh, babe, I know you're going to find this funny, you know. And also just our personalities in terms of that we're both really caring. We're both very heart-centered people. We really love giving to others and finding ourselves very bizarrely right now on very similar paths in life. Like the way things are going in our lives is very synced. So we do feel like we totally were thrown together purposefully. But I know that it was because I was super clear on what I was looking for. I worked on myself and lots of other things that allowed me to attract him into my space and just like really find him. And also some of the way in which I was behaving in the relationship with him has also impacted the way that he has shown up in the relationship with me. So he already came to this being like a really great guy, but there were definitely things in the beginning that were quite challenging in terms of how, you know, he was managing conflict with me, just some of his thought process and stuff like that. But because of the way that I showed up in the relationship and maybe some things that I either introduced him to or just myself, it totally influenced and impacted the way that he started showing up. So, and he always says that to me. He will just always say, babe, I'm a different person than the one that met you, like because of what you taught me to do or how you taught me to show up. And I used to be in this situation where relationships were like battlefields, and that's what I thought they were, but you've shown me something different. And that's really nice. It's really nice to know that because I did the work on myself, that I also influenced him, which has also then come right back to me, if that makes sense. So it's created my relationship experience as a better one too, because of how I've shown up. So I feel really grateful that I've gone through that stuff and I've kind of really, you know, like supported myself and then him in the end. And I have 2 boys as well from previous relationships, and he absolutely loves them and they absolutely love him back. And I couldn't have asked for more. You know, my little one's always asking, when they come around, when they come in, when they come in. So, and which I love, you know, because that's what you want. You want your kids to want your guy to be there rather than the opposite. So it's definitely the best relationship experience that I've had in my life. And part of the reason why I do what I do is I want everyone to experience an amazing relationship, but I also don't want you to take nearly 17 years like it took me, right, to find somebody. I want to help you collapse time because I'm helping you to take the shortcut by telling you what, you know, this is good, this will work for you. And this is stuff that I do with my clients as well. So I have passed it on and shared. Hi, Gemma. I see you on Facebook. Gemma and Jennifer are both watching. Hi, ladies. Um, So that's what I'm here to kind of share with you today, so that you too can go out and have an amazing relationship experience as well. I'm just going to say hello, Juliana. Hi, welcome. I did just let you into the group, but I love that you've come to join us on Zoom. So yay. So I've got the ladies to share in the group just what it is in the chat, what it is that they are hoping to find by coming along to the workshop. So please just share with us in the chat, like where you're from and what you're hoping to gain from this. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So we're going to use the chat function throughout this. If you've got any questions that come up in your mind as I'm going through, please put them in the chat. Please put the letter Q and then write the question. So when we get to the Q&A later, I'll scroll back up and have a look, or just write it down, but hold fire, because I would love to just get through, all the content, and then we'll come back to do the questions later. Hope that's all right for everybody. So these are the 3 areas that we're going to cover, and these are the things that help transform my love life, as I shared, and also my clients. And I really want you to be open-minded, and I really want you to have that attitude of, like, you know what, I really want to find love, so whatever I'm going to do for myself, this is what I'm going to do. So just thinking about the stuff that I'm going to share, kind of be honest with yourself as well about if this is the stuff that has come up for you, or what you've had to deal with, or anything that you feel like you've got to do. Because the more honest you are, the more self-aware you are, the easier it's going to be to make any shifts for you and to move forward and get the success that you want. And I hope that's all good for you, ladies. So first of all, the 3 key areas that were the self-love, having a dating strategy, so having a plan, like being strategic, and also the relationship experience, which I touched on a little bit when I was sharing about me. So with the self-love aspect, for me, self-love first. That's what I always say, and that's what I always try and make sure when I work with my clients, that they've got this one down, because this is going to really affect who you attract into your space. It attracts the person that you allow in. It affects who you allow to stay, and it also will impact how you show up in your relationship for yourself and your partner. So if you have got poor self-love or self-worth, this is where we find what we tend to attract people who are a bit more toxic or don't have healthy behavior. Because oftentimes, if we're not feeling great within ourselves, we will just kind of allow people to be in our space because we just want them there. Right. And if we're not validating ourselves, we are often looking for other people to validate us. And that can come in the form of, even when you're texting people and just wanting them to message you back, even if they're not the right people, you just want them to be responding to you and talking to you all day because it makes you feel valued and validated, right? They might not even be the right person, but it doesn't matter. You just want to feel, you want to have that attention and stuff like that. But if you're not valuing yourself, then it's so much easier to bring someone into your space who won't value you either, because people can take advantage of that. They know that you need them to validate you. So they know they're going to be able to just take the mick and stick around. That's why you've got to be able to come from a place of real strength when you're dating, when you're connecting with people, when you are deciding who to have in your life for a little while. And also it will enable you to kind of be able to push back and kind of walk away from people that aren't working for you as well. So that's why when it comes to self-worth and self-love, it's so important. And this is why sometimes we do stay in things that longer than we should as well, because we just want to feel loved. We just want to, and the thing is, it's not even real love, but it's more about that attention and being chosen. But oftentimes they're not really choosing you. What they are kind of doing is just getting their ego fed, right? Because they know that you want them around, even if they're not doing you good. And I definitely know I've had that as well, from experience of being in situationships and stuff like that, where they've got sort of narcissistic personalities, and it's all about feeding their ego. And I've fed it by, like, if they're not answering my call, or they're not responding to my text messages, but the minute they text me or the minute they call me, I'm on it, and because I don't want them to go and to change their mind or to disappear. And they're getting that validation. And oftentimes for guys as well, the reason that they're doing this, they're behaving in this way, and they're even love bombing, is simply because they don't feel great about themselves either. So it's a very unhealthy dynamic. And that's why, if you're feeling great and amazing, you will be able to notice that behavior easily. You'll be able to repel it. They might not even come into your space because they know that you're quite strong. and that you feel great and that you haven't got time for that. And you'll be able to know your worth if somebody does start acting up and walk off. And also set your boundaries in your relationship, and also trust your intuition. So you'll be able to lean into that. Oh, this feeling, this doesn't feel right, but because you know your worth, you value yourself, you can trust yourself to make the right decision for yourself. I know even for myself, getting into this relationship with my great guy, I was falling back into my old pattern of low self-worth, where I was like, oh my God, he's so great, he's so amazing, he's so this. And I was putting him up here on this pedestal. And it meant that I was starting to do my old behavior of trying to like people please and try to like get him to stay. And it was when I had this realization, and this is the beauty when you do this work on yourself, that you can bounce back quite quickly. I was like, oh, you're doing this again, Tops. And I actually said to him, I need a time out. I need to kind of not speak to you for a week, which I know sounds really weird, but I need to just go and literally talk to myself because I'm behaving in the way that I shouldn't be behaving anymore, because I thought I'd knocked that on the head. And I did. I literally went and started like mentally slapping myself about, going, come on, Tops, you were amazing too. You're worth somebody like holding on to and coming after. Bring him down off his pedestal and remember that you're equal, and don't do the thing that you used to do. So that was the beauty of doing that bit of work on myself, is just making sure that I am able to kind of like push back against that. And it changed things. And it was funny because he said, I'm so glad that you're like that. I'm so glad that there were times when I was like, I'm out because we're not on the same page here. You're not giving me what I need. I think you're amazing. Love you. But actually, I'm not getting what I need from here. And you're not willing to step up. So I'm off. And it wasn't easy, because my natural instinct was, oh, I'll just wait for him to change. I'll just keep saying stuff and maybe he'll do better. But I learned that lesson from before. It doesn't really work. People will keep on taking the mick if you don't show that you respect yourself and value yourself. But because I did, it really made him step up. He was just like, yeah, you know what, she does. And I love that, because now I know that I can't be pushing and taking the mick. Do you know what I mean? And he admitted it. He said, I would have seen how far I could push you, because it's the easier life, isn't it? So at least he admitted it, but also knew that he needed to step up in order to keep me. So I'm really glad that I did not continue with my old patterns, but I cut it to the quick and was able to stand up for myself, no matter how I felt for him, no matter the fact that I knew this guy was the guy that I've been waiting for. I still chose me. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you come from that place of strength. And so if you're thinking, well, how do I start doing that? How do I start building up my self-worth? Well, first of all, you've got to identify what it is that's maybe not making you feel like you're enough in the first place, that's making you feel like you're not worthy to begin with. So you've got to think about there might be things from your past, maybe the way that you grew up. This is a very common one that I find a lot with women that I work with, that they didn't feel loved as they were growing up. Like maybe their parents loved them, but it wasn't the way they wanted to be loved, if that makes sense. And I know that was 100% my thing. I didn't feel valued as I grew up. I didn't feel like my feelings meant anything. There was no emotional connection to my parents. And I know because of that, I was seeking this security and this love from somebody, but in my desperate need to be loved as well, and to feel worthy by being chosen, I was attracting all the wrong people. And I was settling into these relationships that weren't the right thing for me. So knowing what it is that's underlying the sort of low self-worth or the lack of feeling enough really makes a difference. And there might be like a real core belief that you're holding on to, which was one of mine, was my needs are not as important as other people's. And that made me realize why I kept people pleasing, why I kept like giving so much in my relationships for so many years before I even realized that I was doing it. So it's about really acknowledging, you've got to figure out what it is first, because when you're able to identify the beliefs or the things that are holding you back, then you can flip them on their head and change them. Then you can reframe the beliefs. Then you can start embedding them into your mindset, because it's really our subconscious mind that drives us. It's not just what we, all of those conscious thoughts that we have, but it's something that's kind of deeper that we're unaware of. But once you know what your beliefs are, you can start trying to embed them so they become a natural part of you. So rather than my needs not being important, I started telling myself that my needs are just as important as other people's, that I'm allowed to ask for what I want and need in a relationship. I don't have to be people pleasing and bending over backwards to make someone stay, that equally they should be making that effort as well with me. But it took me some time, that bit of repetition, but it made all the difference. And also, if you've got things in your past that you're holding on to, which might be from past relationships where people have hurt you, or from when you were growing up and stuff like that, all those things are going to impact you as well. So you've got to be able to set those free, release that, so that they're not the thing that's kind of like hanging over the choices that you make as well. Because like, I'm trying to think of an example. I suppose some of it is like, if something's happened, like I've also been through a cheating experience as well, Margaret, and I had to decide to let go. I had to decide to actually just forgive him, not condone it. I'm always big on that. We're not condoning it. We're forgiving for ourselves so that we can release their hold on us, so we can break free from them and we can heal and we can move forward and acknowledge that their behavior is based on their choices. It's not about me. It's about them. So that was what I had to do. And it meant then I wasn't tarring everybody else with the same brush. And I wasn't feeling insecure or, do you know what I mean, sensitive to somebody else coming forward. So that also really makes a difference as well in terms of our worthiness, knowing that, okay, even if I could have been partly responsible, which we will pay our responsibilities, but that was his choice to do what he did. And that wasn't about me. So it's being able to release that and feel that sense of self-worth and validation, and not feeling like, oh, because they did that, now I'm not worth anything. Nah, you still are, always will be, right? So okay, so that's the thing to take forward. So that is the way to kind of manage that kind of side of around the self-love. Oh, hi ladies, hi Sandy, hi Nebuchadnezzar. I hope I've got your name right. So I'd love for you to like drop in the comments if you feel any kind of resonance with that self-love area that I was talking about. Drop a 1 if you feel like, yeah, this actually sounds a little bit familiar. Like maybe I haven't been feeling like I'm enough. And I've actually seen the way it's impacted the way that I date and my relationship. If that's you, drop a 1 in. And to be fair, the 3 things I'm talking about, they might not all be for you. There might just be one thing that you'd be like, oh yeah, that's the thing for me that I need to work on. It might be 2, it might be all 3 of them. Okay. But I just want to kind of see where like the resonance is. Okay. Margaret and Vicky. Yeah. Okay. You said you kind of the opposite issue where you've had a bad social anxiety, fear of rejection, putting yourself out there, and you spent 15 years avoiding. I don't even know where to start. I've not even looked for relationships for 15 years. Okay. I hear you, Vicky. And I think just literally from that, I think you and I could do with a little one-on-one chat if you're down with that. Yeah. Cool, we'll do that, and I'll put a link in so we can have a little chat, because I think there's a bit to unpick there. Okay, but thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's talk about point 2, dating strategy, right? This is the practical part. Okay, and sometimes I think we feel like we don't need to have a strategy or to have a plan when it comes to dating, but that's not true. Because the thing about having a plan and a strategy, it keeps our mind in the game. Because often when we go and get into relationships, we let our heart lead. Sometimes we let our loins lead. Let's be real, right? Sometimes the chemistry is the thing. Oh, he's nice. Oh, he makes me feel hot. That must mean that everything's going well, and this must be love and all the things. But not necessarily, right? Or we're just like, oh, you feel so good, and you get caught up in the infatuation and all the hormones, and you're completely blinded to all the red flags that are probably being waved in front of your face, and is clearly not for you, right? So, but this is why it's so important to have like a plan and strategy, because this is going to really impact who you pick, who you choose, and you are allowed to choose. This is another fundamental thing, a fundamental principle. You don't have to wait to be chosen by someone. You get to choose them too, right? So what we don't want you to do is end up just dating lots of guys, because that's the other danger when you don't have a plan. You just feel like it's a numbers game. Let me just date everybody, right? To see who's still left standing at the end of the day. Like, you've heard the expression, throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. That's sometimes where you can get caught up and just dating everybody. And to me, I call that dating in the dark, right? You've got your eyes closed because all you're doing is accepting anybody. It's like, oh, I'll accept anyone who will have me, or I'm just going to fall into this relationship because he's there and because he's nice, or we get on. That's the term I hear a lot. Or we get on. He's nice enough. But it's like, it's not just, it is obviously, we want someone to be nice. We want to get on, but there's got to be more to it for you, because if there isn't more to it for you, eventually it will fall apart. right? Because that stuff can only sustain you for so long, but you want to have a successful relationship that's ongoing long term. You don't want to be like falling in and out of relationships all the time because they're not for you. But that's what happens if you don't have a plan, if you're not clear, right? And then also when you're doing all that dating loads of people, you end up feeling tired and fed up and drained. It's like, oh my God, when am I going to find my guy? Right. But if you want to be able to kind of cut that to the quick and just only date men who have even got potential, because that also still G's you up, even when you're like, oh yeah, we had this going for us and that was really good. So that gives me hope that I can still find someone. That's what you want. You want to keep it to quality and not to quantity. And you want to be able to keep your eyes open and recognize the red flags. And also, why on earth would you want to settle, right? Why just go for someone just to have someone? I'm really big on this. We only get one shot at life, right? So why don't we just go after having the best for ourselves? And obviously, there's no judgment. If anybody wants to just be like, yeah, if someone's good enough, I'll take him. Cool, no judgment. Like, you do you. I'm just saying, like, me, the clients, the ladies that I work with, we just want more. We want the best, right? And we're allowed to have it. And we have to believe that we're entitled to have it as well. And so you can hold out for it because it does exist. If it exists for me, it will 100% exist for you. If it exists for your best friend, it exists for you. You know what I mean? If it exists for your colleague. So it's just been recognizing that we can have what we want and it is out there and we don't need to be settling. So some of the things that you can do to help you to have a clear dating strategy is one, learn about your dating traps, right? Your dating traps are the unconscious choices that you make when you're dating because of the beliefs that you hold on to. So we touched a bit on about the beliefs that impact your self-worth, right? But if you are but there are also some other traps, like just kind of sort of types of behavior, ways that we do things when we date. So for example, you might be somebody who, when you're meeting your matches, you're looking at their external, like, oh, what kind of job does he have? Where does he live? Does he have a house? Does he have money? All those things. Now, of course, to a degree, those are important. But if that's the only thing you're focusing on, then you're missing something, right? You're missing the heart, you're missing the emotional intimacy. But some of us get caught up in that trap. Some of us get caught up in the virtual reality trap, right? There's about 14 of them. I didn't coin them, by the way. So, but these are what I work with my clients. So it might be you are only focused on the potential of someone. I 100% did this where I was like, oh, but if he just did this, then he'd be that guy. And if he just, did that, then he'd be that guy. That's virtual reality. Okay. That's just kind of like you're just dreaming about the potential, but you're ignoring what's actually right in front of you. Okay. Some people get caught up in like the mini marriage kind of trap where you just go from one long-term relationship to the other, or you just want to jump into a relationship quickly and be exclusive without giving yourself a time to pace yourself and work things out. And then there's might be scarcity as well, where you are so afraid that you're not going to find another guy that you're going to get on with that you stick with that person, right? So these are traps that you can fall into, and they're stuck in the patterns you can get stuck in over and over again until you identify what they are first. And then you're able to say, actually, if that happens, I need to do this instead. Okay. And that's one thing. The other thing, and this is a massive, massive thing, because this is going to really help you to like filter for your matches, is getting clear on what you want. So what is it that you actually want to have in your life? Having a clear vision for your own life, and then having an idea of where you want that person to fit into it, how you want them to fit into it. So what are the non-negotiables that you're going to need in that relationship experience with that person in order for you to have what you want, right? So we're not just talking about the traits. We're not just talking about, oh, he's got to be kind, he's got to be funny, he's got to be this. We're talking about the values that you have. What do you value and what would you love him to value? What shared values do you want to have with one another that align? Yeah. What's the kind of lifestyle that you'd like to share together? And you might not have exactly matching lifestyles because he's his own person, you're his, but what's the part that you want to share? What are the activities you might want to share together? How do you want them to fit in? If you've got kids, like how do you want them to fit into that role in your life with your children? So it's really getting clear on that kind of stuff, because it's going to really help you then when you're having conversations with men, you're getting to know them, you'll know whether or not they're going to be able to meet those non-negotiables and those requirements and give you that experience that you want to have, rather than just seeing how it goes. but it was never going to go anyway, because up front there were things that he clearly said that meant he wasn't going to, but you forged ahead anyway, right? This just stops, kind of like saves you so much time, and getting to know kind of how to even unpick that with guys, like early on, what are the questions to kind of ask before you even go on the date. So if you know what your non-negotiables are, you'll be able to kind of like, come up with some questions and things to ask him first of all, to kind of, and I'm not like not sort of interview style, like getting your thing out and being like, so you know what I mean, and digging it off, but just like be able to casually drop those into the conversations, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I don't think he's about that. I'm not getting that vibe from him. So I don't think this is something to move forward with, because I already know if he doesn't have this, it's not going to work. Right. And also kind of having a checklist of red flags, of things to just commonly look out for, really helps you to stay logical. It helps you to not get caught up with the heart and the loins. Right. Having the right mindset before you even get into dating, because we can like sabotage things without meaning to, because we might be thinking, oh, this is never going to work, I'm never going to find a nice guy. All men are just like losers, they're players, they're cheaters. If you've got all of that and you're still dating, you're obviously, it's just going to sabotage it straight off the bat, right? So it's about having the right mindset, and this particularly works for online, because even just as you were saying, Francesca, about the fact that all the guys are like players, they just want to sleep with you. Now, I'm not saying that's not true, because there are a lot of guys online who do just want that, but there are also a lot of guys online who do genuinely want to have a relationship too. But if we keep thinking that's all we're gonna see online, then we sometimes find that's all we will see, because that's as far as our expectations allow, if that makes sense. But if we're like, you know what, yeah, there are some guys who are like that, but I will just swerve them. That's cool. I haven't got time for you. I haven't got time for you. I haven't got time for you. Because I think sometimes as well, this is just a little segue online. Sometimes we get caught up in this thing of where we feel like we have to entertain them. We don't have to entertain them. Like if you know what I mean, this is like, move on, love and light. See you later. That's what I'm like. Because at the end of the day, they have their own needs and their own preferences. And if that just doesn't line up with you, that's cool. Just like move forward. So, but know that there are great guys. I always went online with the mindset, I will be looking for a needle in a haystack. I'll be looking for a diamond in the rough, because I know that I'm going to have to wade through a lot of dodgy guys, but I know I'm going to find a really nice one. And I always did. I always found really nice guys. They just weren't compatible with me. They just didn't have my non-negotiables and stuff, but I dated them anyway, but they were still nice. Do you know what I mean? Until I was super clear what I was looking for. That's how I found my man, because I knew exactly what I wanted. I saw him, I even saw his profile. I was like, oh yeah, he's got all those things that I was looking for. He was so hot as well. He had all the things, right? He had like all the lovely pictures, but he had a really nice message. But because I was already very clear, it really helped me to be able to just pick him out of the crowd and be like, yeah, this is somebody that I think I'm going to at least get into the conversation with, see what he's saying. Yeah, he's saying the right things. I'm going to keep going. But when you've got a vision, when you've got something that you're holding on to because you know what you want, it really helps you along that path. So when you are really clear and you have done all that bit of work around your strategy, you're going to find you're going to date better suited men, right? Like I said, quality over quantity. That vision is going to really help you, and you're going to end up with someone who's going to most likely give you the relationship experience you want. But because you were clear, you had everything in alignment. And one of my clients, this we worked together quite recently. She was very similar. So, she would sometimes like date guys because they got on. It was like, oh, I met this guy. He's probably not massively right, but I'm going to see how it goes. They fall into a relationship. She's not feeling her most authentic self. It doesn't eventually work out. And this was a pattern that she kept repeating until we stopped, looked at what her dating traps were, looked at what her relationship requirements were, and we drilled down on these. So this is really important. You've got to drill down, because even when you're like, these are the values, these are things I want to share with somebody, you've got to almost ask yourself why. Like when we talked about, one of her examples was she didn't want somebody who was a drinker, and I was like, okay, well, why not? And for her, it was like, well, I just didn't like the fact that when they get drunk, how different they are. I said, okay. But she's like, but if he was drinking somewhere else without me, that's fine. I said, oh, so you don't mind a drinker? It's just that you don't want him to drink around you, or you don't want him to be drunk around you. She said, okay, yeah, that makes really a lot of sense. So I don't mind, as long as he's somewhere else and, gets drunk, does his hangover and comes and finds me later. So that's where you're getting really clear and drilling down on what it means to you, what your non-negotiables are, what the things are that you value. That's why it's so important, because it changes the way in which you then show up. Because imagine if she then said to somebody, if she thought that you drink, I don't want you, but actually that's not really what she meant. She's just like, I don't want you around when you're drunk. So getting clear on that kind of stuff before you get into your relationship or your dating super helps. So she was then able to get online after we worked through all of this stuff, planning, had a strategy. She was talking to people. She clocked that a few of them, you didn't have this relationship requirement. I'm going to move on. Thank you very much. And then even one time she said, oh, there's this great guy that I was talking to. He had all the things. We've got a date booked, but we're going to have a phone call first. Amazing. When she got on the phone, she realized he did not have some of the requirements, and she cancelled the date. And I applauded her for it, because she saved herself time, right? From getting on a date with somebody who was just never going to work for her anyway. So that's why it really helps to have a strategy, to have a plan, and to know exactly what you want. So I'd love for you to drop a 2 in the chat if that resonates with you. If you're like, you know what, yeah, I think I need a strategy. I think strategy would be really good. I think that'd be really helpful. Like, put a 2 in. And I saw that there were, so Margaret said, I tried online, 3 guys that were scammers. They were lovely till they thought I was caught up in the relationship. Then they came up for reasons, yeah, to say they needed money. Yeah, I hear that, Margaret. Good for you for clocking that. You know, they try it, don't they? They try it. But as long as you spot it, you back off and you move on, then you're good, right? That's the best thing that you can do, because what we've got to accept is there are all kinds of people out there, and we must never take it personally why they are coming for us. That's another thing. Don't take it personally. They just exist. But as long as you know how to deal with it and move on, that's it. That's all you can do. And take some learning. And if you ended up having a laugh with them before they scammed you, that's great. But it's like, oh, at least they made my day that day. That's how I like to see it. At least he made me laugh. At least I had banter for a day. That was really cool. Like, look for the bright side, you know, it wasn't a total loss. Okay, I'm going to come back for, and that's a really interesting question, Becky, because that's actually going to come up in my next part as well. So okay, a few of you have said 222. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so the third part is relationship experience. Now, I got to do a disclaimer here, right? This one might sting a little bit, okay? Because this is going to be more about how we show up. So I don't want you, whatever I say, I don't want you to feel judged. I'm not judging nobody, okay? Because we're obviously not born with a manual on how to be in a relationship. We learn that stuff as we go, right? It takes a bit of trial and error. And it also takes skills. So when I talk about relationship experience, I'm talking about the experience that you're providing for your partner and yourself, right? Expectations, as you just went and said, Becky, the expectations that you have, the attitude that you have, and the behavior and your skills. And as I was telling you earlier about my relationship and noticing the way that I was showing up actually did have an impact on my partner. So I was thinking about the relationship experience that I wanted to create and co-create. This is a very important point. You're co-creating the relationship experience with your partner, because both of you are bringing things to the table. Yeah. So some of the issues obviously here are like about having unrealistic expectations of what your partner is going to do for you, right? As well as what you think the relationship is meant to be about. For example, sometimes we can go into relationships thinking that it's going to fix everything for us. Like, we're feeling sad, we're unhappy, but we think, oh, but when we meet somebody and they love us, they make us feel good, everything's going to be better. Not true, right? That is an unrealistic expectation. That is pressure that we're putting on this other person to be our everything, can make us feel good. And the responsibility really lies with us. Another example is around kind of like attitude is like, you might go in with this, it's my way or the highway, right? Not willing to compromise at all. Oh, hey, Omar. It's not willing to compromise at all over anything. So if you've got that attitude going in, that's obviously going to like sabotage and not create a great experience. You've got to think about obviously what it is that you are bringing to the table as well. It's not just about him. And even sometimes when you go on dates, you might even be telling them right off the bat, this is what I expect from my man, right? These are things that I expect. I expect him to make effort. I expect my man to be a manly man. I don't want a guy who's this, and I don't want a guy who's that. So that poor guy sitting there, you've already been like told what it is that you expect of him, like straight off the bat. why would he not run? I'm sorry, but why would he not? Because that already is saying this woman's demanding. And she doesn't even know me. She doesn't even know what I'm about. She doesn't even know what I can bring here. And also, what is she bringing to the table? She's already telling me. She's not even telling me what she can give, what she's telling me what she wants from me. So that can often be quite obviously damaging straight away. So are you shocked that he doesn't want a second date? You know, you got to think about these things. And then even thinking about when you're communicating, whether you're that's the dates, maybe you've gone on a few dates or you've got into a little bit of a relationship. If you're demanding, you're critical of them, like I'm not giving you a solution, I'm just criticizing you, right? That's not great. Putting people down, belittling, maybe shouting and screaming because you think that's how you think you're going to be heard, or that's how you're going to think you'll be taken seriously. Always wanting to be right rather than thinking about how can we be on the same side here? How can it be us against the problem? You might be somebody who, has got into a habit of withholding sex or affection if you're not getting your way, right? Well, he's not done that for me, so we ain't getting it. That kind of thing. That's not going to really help your relationship. Or you just don't show any affection to them. Guys like affection or appreciation, not saying thank you for the little things that they do. Sometimes we've got this attitude of, well, he ought to be doing that anyway, or he should be doing that. Why should I say thank you? That's just like common, that's just bare minimum. And, I think that one, I get that, but two, there's no harm. It wouldn't actually kill you to say thank you and to show appreciation for something. And that's something that I know that my partner and I do. I always made sure whatever he did, I said, thanks for that, babe. Thank you. And what that did for him, puffed out his chest, made him feel good, like my babe appreciates what I do, which means he's going to do more of it because he knows that it's going to be appreciated. And he always says that to me. When I do say, oh, thanks for that, babe, he said, well, I love doing things for you because I know that you're going to appreciate it when I do. So, but I will still say thank you anyway, because I want him to feel appreciated. I want him to feel valued. Because sometimes we get caught up in the belief that men don't need that men are tough and they don't have feelings or emotions, but they are sensitive creatures as well on the inside. They're just wired slightly differently, but they still need to feel like they mean something, that what they're doing is valued as well. And equally, so it's like, when I cook dinner, he'll be thanking me. He'll like, thanks for that, babe. Thank you. So not with, well, of course she's going to cook dinner, she should, or she's doing it anyway. No, he'll say thank you. And then a couple of days later, he'll be like, babe, you cooked a couple of times. It's my turn. I'm going to cook now. Do you know what I mean? Give you a little, like a break. I'll do stuff for the boy. And I'm like, thanks, babe. Even though maybe he should do that anyway, I don't see it like that. I still appreciate that he thinks like that and he wants to give to us in the relationship, if that makes sense. So it does really make a difference when we do show that appreciation, that value. And as I said, whatever we give to that person, it comes back into the relationship as well. It comes back into us having a great experience because of how they then treat us too. So you got to think about that. And while it might be a case of, well, what about him? What if he doesn't do the things? And, why should it be me that has to show up like that? If your guy is not doing what you would love for him to do, if you've brought that up to him and he's refusing to change and he's not about you and he's making you feel bad, then bin him. Literally, I'm just like, just let him go. So you can't control him. You can only control you. You can only decide what version of yourself you want to be in that relationship in order to create that experience. Because when you go into relationship, yes, of course, we want to receive something, but we should really go in with, what can I also give? How can I make somebody feel loved? How can I make them feel valued and appreciated and supported as well? That's what I'm here to do in this relationship. And obviously, it ought to be equal, but you can also sometimes ask for some things that you might need from somebody too, because they might not also be a bit clued up on certain things. I know, even like I was saying, when my partner and I, we had conflict in the early days. Remember, there was times when he'd be like trying to be like, yeah, I don't think I'm the right person for you, and he'd be texting me. I'm like, I don't do that. I was like, get on the phone and talk to me if you want to have this kind of conversation. I'm in my 40s. I don't need to be having text conversations that are coming, do you know what I mean, bringing it to end. But I held the standard, and he said, fair enough. So we'd get on a call. And then when we'd have issues going forward, he'd say, okay, I think we need to have a conversation about this, or I think I'm going to come around and talk to you. He never did that before, but I held that standard and he rose to it. So I role modeled the behavior. And because he was the kind of guy he is, he was able to respond to it. So that's why later on he said, babe, you know what? You've really changed the way in which I handle conflict. I used to get into these big fights with my exes. We'd clash and we'd scream and we'd call each other names and it would be a whole big thing. And I said, yeah, I don't do that. I don't do the shouting and the screaming. That's not me, because I want to be respectful towards you the same way I want you to be respectful towards me. So whether I'm the one role modeling it or you are, it doesn't really matter. But that's the kind of, I want to be happy with myself about how I conducted myself in this relationship and created that kind of experience. So now, completely different way of being he is and the different mindset that he's got. So I feel really grateful for being that person. So don't think that as well that you don't have a lot of influence as well in your relationship. You can't change somebody, and I would never say try and change anyone, because they are who they are, but you can influence people by just being you. And if they don't shift and they don't change, at least you know you've done your best, and you can always look back and be like, I did my best in that. How he showed up and conducted himself is on him. Yeah. So you just can feel proud. You can go to bed at night feeling really proud of yourself. If it didn't work out, you know there's someone out there who's going to treat you with respect that you deserve. The other side of things as well, sometimes in the experiences, we might get a bit clingy, dependent on people. Sometimes we want to spend all of our time with our guys, right? Oh, but now we're in a relationship, we should be together all the time, do everything together. You don't need to do that, right? It's important to spend time together, 100%, but it's important to spend time apart. You're both individuals that came into the relationship. So let them have their space. Otherwise, you put pressure, they feel suffocated because they don't feel free to do what they want. Then is it a surprise if they pull away, if they withdraw, if they put their walls up and not build that emotional intimacy with you? And obviously, I get it when we talk about the way that we behave, that sometimes we can get triggered by the way that they are, right? But just remember, we're in control of how we choose to respond to a situation. And if you're being triggered by the way people are saying things or doing things, then there's probably some other underlying stuff that you have to deal with and work on. But that's your responsibility to work on that, to like literally go seeking it to find out what it is, so that you can show up better and put yourself forward in the best light. So that's with the relationship experience. So in order to kind of, what do you do about this? Well, first of all, you've got to acknowledge it. You've got to get real with yourself about how you show up in your relationship. Sometimes it's hard to look at these things. It's like hard pills to swallow. So, oh my God, was it me? Did I not like show up the best way? When you look back, was I always instigating arguments? Was I not trying to resolve conflict? Was I always trying to be right? You know, you've got to be real. If you want to have a relationship going forward that's going to work, you've got to get real with yourself, right? See how maybe the way you showed up didn't work for that relationship. You got to put yourself out to go and start learning relationship skills, like communication skills. It's a learning thing. We can learn how to communicate, right? You know, so go, you can seek that. There's so much stuff out there to help you. You got to also understand that you're fully responsible for your happiness, so that you don't expect someone to come in and try to make you happy. Be happy first. And obviously you're not going to be 100% about everything, but generally be responsible for your happiness, so that person is coming in to add value to your life rather than trying to fill a void. Develop like and I love to do this with my clients, is like a relationship behavior manifesto. So like if all those things that you realize that this is how I've been, I've done this, cool, or I've been triggered here, then it's a case of, well, now that I know that that's not the right way to do, this is what I'll do next time. So you're kind of already setting yourself up for success by reminding yourself of what you need to be doing going forward. And if you don't know what to do, if you're completely stuck, because I'm like, I haven't got a clue, get help. You know, that's what people like me are here for. Relationship dating coaches, therapists, all sorts. You can get help. And there's no shame 100% in getting it, because like I said, we were not born with a relationship manual. We don't know how to do it. We have to learn. So feel free to do that. And like I said, when I think back to my marriage in particular, the lesson I learned was not comparing my partner. I used to always say, oh, my friend's husband did this and my friend's husband did that. Well, so-and-so's husband. And I realized later when we split up how emasculating in one way. I don't know if it was emasculating. It was probably how I probably contributed to him feeling insecure, because I was comparing him and I was telling him he wasn't good enough. And that wasn't my plan, but I didn't know how else to communicate to him that I needed him to do something for me. So that obviously didn't make him feel great. So I won't do that again. I would never compare, because you can't, you know, but you can only ask what it is that you need from somebody. So I've been very careful. So that's a lesson learned. That was a lesson learned for me. and I want to always make my person feel valued and appreciated and secure in the relationship. And then you start to also feel more secure too. So I've learned my lessons as well. And I've probably learned more than that, 100%. So those are my 3 areas. And we're going to talk about the Q&A in a little bit. I'm going to share that with you in a bit. But I'd love you to just drop in the comments, right? So we've talked about self-love, we've talked about dating strategy, and we've talked about the relationship experience. I'd love you to share 1, 2, or 3. I know you've done this already, but think about all of them. Is it just more 1? Is it more 2? Is it more 3? Or is it 3 of them? Or 2 of them? I'd love you to share either 1 or 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Which ones do you feel like, yeah, I think going forward, working on this is going to help me to have more relationship success? Is it 1, your self-love, and 2, your strategy, and 3, relationship experience, or combo, if that makes sense? 1 and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Anyone else want to share? 2. Okay, strategy. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing all of them, but you need 1 first. Yep, completely hear that. 1 and 3 says Omo in the group. Okay, so that's the self-worth bit and the relationship experience. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Okay, great. Thanks, ladies. So all 3, says Bev. Thank you, Bev. So we're gonna do Q&A in a bit where you can come off and ask me some questions, and I'll come back to this about Becky if I haven't resolved that one. So I wanted to just share with you quickly, like, if you do want help, I want to share with you the ways that I can help you if you're interested. Okay, so only if you feel like you want it. So I've got specific one-to-one programs for each of those areas. For self-love, got self-love goddess. I call them all goddess. Self-love goddess, dating goddess, relationship goddess, because I want you to be a goddess in all these areas, right? I want you to be your absolute best. And that's for like just one-to-one specifically on those. Or I have a longer term 3 months plus program where we will deep dive into all of those areas so that you're coming up literally smelling your roses, that you're feeling really amazing about yourself, that you're very clear on your strategy so you can pick the right person. You don't settle for less, show up as the best version of yourself so you can keep your good guy, right? Who is ideal for you and not potentially sabotage it. That's just one-to-one stuff. So if that's somewhere in your mind, like, you know what, I might want to do that. I think that sounds good. But you want to know obviously more about it. Then I'm going to drop actually this in the comments, which is just a little kind of application form where you can just write down, fill it in, and drop in the submission. Then I'll kind of reach out to you and just check in with you. Now, the stuff that I'm sharing might not be for you. We might not even be a good fit to work for. So definitely get down when you're feeling like, oh my God, if I fill this in, she's going to be like trying to make me work with her. I'm not going to try and make you do that. I'm only here for you if you want me to be here for you. Okay. So feel free to like fill that in and submit it, and I'll follow up with you. If you want to, and this is definitely for you, Vicky, and actually yours might be a little bit longer. But that's a booking call thing. So click on that so you can book a call if you're like, I don't know. I actually don't know what I would need help with. I'm going to tell you where I'm at. And then I will say to you, okay, this is what I think would be really helpful for you, whether that's with me or somebody else, or I might signpost you to something. So I would definitely do that and go through the form first anyway, just to see what some of the questions might be that I might ask you when we get on the complimentary call. So if you want to talk like this, happy to do that. I love talking to people, right? This is why I love doing workshops, okay? Because I love to see all your faces and get into convos. So definitely, please go ahead and just book that over the next couple of days. Like I've got a lot of space tomorrow and Friday, so we can get into a call. And then I've got something super special that I'm just doing for January. This is if you're like, my self-worth is really cool, it's on point, I'm all right, I'm great in relationships, never had any complaints, I just need to get the dating strategy part right, okay, so I can pick the right guy and just stop falling in and out of things. So what I've got is this like 4-week, and it's more of like in a group setting where I help you to get clear on your relationship requirements and your non-negotiables, so you know kind of like how to filter, what to filter your matches through, you know what to say or how to ask the right questions so that you can eliminate the unsuitable guys off the bat, know how to decide if this is the right guy to go forward with, which will include a red flags checklist as well. and also help you to learn how to trust your intuition, learn how to like visualize your man. This was a really powerful thing that worked for me, which I truly believe I manifested my man because I was like visualizing him. And he was totally the same guy that I was thinking about. I will show you how that works. If you like, she's like, really? That sounds a little bit kooky. It totally works. So we'll do all of that kind of stuff as well. So it's just all getting really clear on the non-negotiables. So that will work as 4 weeks, 3 weekly training calls where I'm going to train you on all of those things and teach you how to do the strategy. And then you get 1 week where you just have a one-on-one call with me, where we do the refinement bit of your relationship requirements. Because for me, I wouldn't want to set you free to go dating without making sure that you're on point with your non-negotiables. Okay. And I'll even throw in like a bonus relationship readiness assessment, which I give to all my clients just to make sure that the rest of your life is all ready for a relationship as well. This is a really good thing to make sure that you're relationship ready, basically. Because sometimes we think, well, I'm single, that must mean we're ready. Not necessarily. It might mean there's some things that you need to kind of like fix in your life, I say, or resolve before moving forward. So we'll have that call like right at the end. And then I'm going to throw in a couple of bonuses. So I have a dating membership as well, which I'm revamping at the moment. So I'll give you 1 month free in that. So when I reopen it, it's going to be about 44, but its final price will be about £97. So you're getting a £97 freebie. Also, my online dating mini course, I'm going to throw that in there as well for you. So that's going to really help you if you want to do online dating. And then I'll give you a lovely time sensitive bonus. So if you decided you wanted to go for it, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, I'll throw in a 75-minute call with me as well, where we'll look at your dating traps. So before the program starts, we'll look at your unconscious choices, all those things I mentioned, like the marketing trap, the scarcity, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll map out what you need to do instead going forward, and be conscious of, so you can like avoid those certain mistakes that you always do, right? So if you sign up with the next 24 hours, I will throw that one in there as well. So by the end of the 4 weeks, you will know exactly what kind of relationship you want to experience. You know, you want to know how to trust your gut, how to save yourself time from dating lots of different guys, right? We don't want that. We want quality versus quantity. You're going to know what to look out for, like around the red flags, so you don't get drawn into anything that's not right for you. How to have faith that he's coming because you're visualizing him and you can see him and he's totally going to be there. And just literally so that you start this year set up for dating success, like right at the start of the year, so that you can forge ahead towards having that relationship success that you really, really want. And all of this stuff will completely work if you're doing online as well. So it works for online and offline. And because it's a special offer, it would normally be roughly in about 700, right? We're talking about over £700, but that's not what it's going to be today. It's going to be only like 297. No, 299. Didn't I say 297? 299 for 4 weeks with all those other bonuses. So the call with me is about 97. The free month is membership is 97, and the course is about £33. So you're getting a lot. And normally 4 weeks of what I'd be doing would be about £400. So you're getting quite a lot for the 299. And the reason why, because you're like, why is she making it so cheap? Because I just really, really want to help so many women, as many women as I can at the beginning of this year, just set you up for success. Like this, like for me, this is the thing that I'm super passionate about, is wanting to help you date and have an amazing relationship experience. And if that is just helping you to get the strategy part right, it's obviously going to be like super massive. Imagine if you then go out using this strategy, finding the love of your life. It's like a drop in the ocean in terms of the value for it. You're right. You're going to get so much as a result for it. So I'm going to actually give you a little PDF so you can go away and have a look at it and decide if you want to do it. We're going to start on the 15th of January. I've got 10 spots available. It's going to take you beautifully up to about a week or so before Valentine's Day. So it just means as you're going over the next few weeks, you're going to be getting support and learning. You'll be able to kind of use all the stuff that we're doing to date well. And who knows what you might end up with by then. We'll never know, because I know that's also always a tricky time of the year. So I'm just going to leave that with you to think about. And I'm just going to drop in here the links. If you already feel like, yeah, I'm on there, I'm just going to go and pay for it. You can pay for it in 2 parts as well. So you can do 150 and then 150 a little bit later. And I'm just going to drop a PDF. So click that, keep it open. It gives you all the details. And there'll be links on the PDF that you can just click if you wanted to go and join. So remember, within 24 hours, you get the extra call with me as well. But I'll only have 10 spots, which I'm going to be sharing. So you're the first to hear about it. Then I'm going to be sharing it across my socials from tomorrow. So I'm opening it